Hello there and welcome to Oulton Park here in Cheshire for the opening rounds of the British Formula 3 International Series, and this year will be bigger and better than ever before. The main changes in hand are more racing. Our drivers will compete in 30 races over 10 events throughout the UK and into Europe, and the eye will be on the big title, so it will be tougher and more challenging than ever before. This series has a long history of producing quality drivers, and 2009 was an amazing time for some of our old graduates. Jenson Button was the class of '99 and last year kept the nation on the edge of their seats, battling to the world title in Formula 1. Dario Franchitti was one of the F3 stars of '94, and over in America he's now gone on to claim the IndyCar crown for the second time. And proving that this competition is still a great place to go talent spotting, the 2008 champion Jaime Alguersuari signed for the Toro Rosso team, becoming the youngest ever F1 driver. However, it's all about now. Who will be the star of 2010 and follow in their impressive footsteps? Let's take a look. This season sees several drivers returning for another stab at the title. Carlos Huertas and Daisuke Nakajima were both very quick in the latter part of the season, as was Spa winner Adriano Buzzard, and they look set to be front runners this year.
Well, the only thing that I can do is really work hard, outside of the track, inside of the track, get close to my engineer and try to move forward, push the car in the limit, which is something that I always to love it, and see where that gets me this year.
Stepping up from the national class is the 2009 champion Daniel Mackenzie.
And with Fortec Motorsport again, won the national championship last year. I was happy with what they're doing with the car and what they're developing on the car, so I thought it's a safe, known quantity. Now,
last year obviously you very much dominated the national class and had lots of success on the track. Now, what's your plan and thought process for this year?
Well, yeah, it was a great year. It worked out really well, had a huge amount of success. This year I would obviously like to do the same sort of thing. Consistency is the key, and as I proved last year, if you finish the races, you can still win the championship without winning every race.
F3's top team are Carlin, and in their impressive lineup are two drivers linked with successful training schemes. Britain's James Collado is backed by the Racing Steps Foundation and should be competitive. And Frenchman Jean-Éric Vergne is hoping to make it 3 out of 3 for the Red Bull Juniors training programme.
It's a big challenge for me. I always raced in the big tracks like Monaco, Barcelona. So for me, come in England and race on this kind of track like Oulton Park, Snetterton, really small tracks, bumpy tracks, it's pretty hard for me. But this is a big challenge, and I'm looking forward.
Obviously, you've joined Carlin. They're the top team in British F3. Are you under a bit of pressure to keep the championship here?
Yeah, for sure. For the last 3 years, 2 Red Bull drivers won the championship, being with Carlin. But no, this is not a big pressure. I already have my pressure on my shoulders, so it's all right.
Some big changes in the championship this year, and I'm with Peter Briggs, who's the team representative from FOTA Formula 3 Association. Now, Peter, big changes. What's going to be the pluses for us this year?
I think the important thing is we've got 3 races at the weekend. We've also brought in a partial reverse grid for the second race, which gives an opportunity for guys who maybe aren't normally on a podium to get on a podium. So that's good for them, it's good for their supporters, it's good for their sponsors.
And how's that been received?
Very, very well. Our international class is up 20% on entries so far this year, and we've got more cars scheduled to join, where generally in motorsport at the moment, in single-seaters, most series are down because of the depression.
So why did you decide to bring these changes in?
Because we wanted to get more cars into the championship. We looked at what we were doing last year and realised we are basically the training ground for motorsport. Most of the drivers have gone to Formula 1, and drivers want to race. They like testing, but at the end of the day, they want to race. And so we thought, why not do that? Why not give them more races, give them more for their money, basically.
The first race of the 2010 season kicked off on Saturday afternoon, and it was Jean-Éric Vergne that set the benchmark, claiming the first pole position of the year from Oliver Webb. After a clean start by the field, Adriano Buzzard managed to sneak past and claim third before the field turned into the tight Old Hole corner. However, it was an impressive lights to flag victory for Jean-Éric Vergne, letting the others know that he means business this year. So race 1 winner Jean-Éric Vergne starts in 7th after drawing that position from the hat for the first ever reversed grid for race 2. It'll be pretty mixed up at the front, so let's join our commentator, Martin Haven.
Thanks, Diana. Yes, mixed up is right, and cold temperatures and a track still wet from overnight rain won't help. Now, the way the race 2 grid works is very straightforward. Race 1 winner chooses at random a number out of a hat between 6 and 10. Wherever that number is, that's where he starts, and that's how many cars are reversed. So in this case, our race winner starts in 7th, and the top 7 from race 1 are reversed. That leaves Adriano Bazide in 5th position, 3rd in race 1. The man who was runner-up was rookie Oliver Webb. He'll start 6th, just ahead of the race 1 winner Jean-Éric Vergne, with Jasman Jafar, who was 8th in race 1, starting 8th. He doesn't get reversed. National pole sitter Manisha Idafar of Bahrain. So it is cold and windy. It's Easter Bank Holiday Monday. We are ready for race 2, the first ever reverse grid start in British Formula 3. There's our poleman. Gabriel Diaz gets a good launch. Very slow away, Carlos Huertas. And Huertas in the middle of the pack, trying hard to hang on to 3rd place. That looks like Adriano Bazide on the grass. Just gets eased out, but he rejoins ahead of quick starting Jasman Jafar. Jafar with the Petronas Malaysian colours. White and turquoise. He had the race 1 winner alongside him, but it's Daisuke Nakajima that holds the lead as they sweep round onto the Grand Prix circuit for the first time. On board with Rupert Svensson Cook, 3rd place. In front you can see Gabriel Diaz trying to shape up a move. You can just see spots of water on the camera lens as well, so the track is dry enough for slicks, but barely. They're going to have to stay away from those curbs. They'll be like sheet ice. Nakajima then under pressure from last year's national class runner-up, of course, Gabriel Diaz, so really piling on the pressure. Those 3 look to be breaking away too. Carlos Huertas in 4th, that's Adderley Fong, stalled on the grid. And now he is sent on his way halfway round lap 1. With the turquoise on his card, Jasman Jafar has a little look into the Knickerbrook chicane. Can't quite get alongside Jean-Éric Vergne in that blue and yellow Red Bull car. Disappointing start there for Oliver Webb, runner-up in the first race. Now he's trying to fight his way back up the order as again the leaders get together as they come into Druids. And it does look as though, little wicked twitch there under Jasman Jafar. Yeah, Nakajima with the red nose, slower than both Gabriel Diaz and Rupert Svensson Cook behind him. Down on the left-hand side, that's Alex Brundle in the white car. First Formula 3 weekend, racing F2 last year. And he goes by a national class leader, Manisha Idafar, as Rupert Svensson Cook watches the battle for the lead get very twitchy, and on the grass is Gabriel Diaz. Will he return to the track? Yes. Safely? Yes. Ooh, got away with that. They touched. It was both cars right on the ragged limit of adhesion. Very wet out there. And looks as though our race leader got away with that. Now Rupert Svensson Cook will have seen all that. Let's take a look at this. Nakajima out wide. Takes the apex, just a little touch. Well, Nakajima drifted wide, but certainly didn't make any move, I don't think, towards Gabriel Diaz. That was a real racing incident. Well, Rupert Svensson Cook on board tells us 2 things. First of all, how wet the track still is, and secondly, that he is again catching the race leader. He knows if he's going to put a move in now, it's got to be a good one. Similar knowledge there for Jean-Éric Vergne. He's in 5th place behind Adriano Bazide. And Bazide, of course, trying to go around Carlos Huertas at the start. Huertas in front of him in 3rd and just out of harm's reach. But Bazide ended up getting edged onto the grass. Leads 2 then. There's Carlos Huertas. Same colours as last year. Adriano Bazide, very different looking colour scheme on the car. And Jean-Éric Vergne comes here with a great pedigree, one of a pair of racing Vergne brothers, neither called Jules, rather disappointingly for lovers of great French fiction writers. But Jean-Éric really took race 1 by the scruff of the neck and has already stamped his authority on this championship in testing. So it's up to everybody else to find the pace to fight back. Now it looks as though Daisuke Nakajima, our race leader, is settling down and picking up the pace a little. I wonder whether he found the cold, wet conditions not really to his liking. Now the tyres will be finding more grip, much more at their operating temperature, and he is just starting to stretch his legs. Take a look at the start then. On the right is fast starting Adriano Bezide. It gets 3 wide as row 2 comes over, jockeying for position. Not sure that they were both aware that he was there. No damage done, and that's quite fortunate in these conditions. So Nakajima, Svensson, Cook, Huertas, Bezide and Vergne, that's your top 5. Then in 6th place with the turquoise colours, that's Jasman Jafar, the Malaysian driver, a British Formula 3 International Series rookie, as are no less than 12 drivers on the grid. Only 8 have experienced the British Formula 3 Championship before, either at international or national class level. So that's a huge graduating class of 2009. And of course, a lot of them moving up to serious international competition as well. And again, Bezide just holding off Jean-Éric Vergne there. Vergne with 2 wheels on the grass, loses traction. Immediately, he's got Jafar right behind him. Well, there are the Carlin boys, and with a 6-strong car lineup this season, they really have got a lot on their plate. Oh, horrible place for Adderley Fong to be caught by all the leaders. He's desperately trying to stay out of the way, but going on the wet grass is not going to help him. With Svensson Cook then, Nakajima right in front. This is our lead battle, and it's a good close one as well. Nakajima still does not have the pace, and Svensson Cook is shaping for a move here. He's as close as he's been. That's about 4 moves down the straight for Nakajima. Not sure that the Formula 1 stewards would take kindly to that, and the British F3-1s may have another look, but nonetheless, Rupert Svensson Cook has translated that pace into a pass as they came down Cascades. So he has the lead for the first time. Daisuke Nakajima behind him should not be much of a threat. If Svensson Cook can drive cleanly for the remaining part of this race, he should be clear of the Japanese the next time they get to the line. Well, let's take a look again. Nakajima makes the last of his moves, goes in flat and shallow, drifts out wide. Svensson Cook knew that was coming, but by gum, there wasn't much more than a cigarette paper's distance to play with. You have to be committed in British Formula 3. You have to know how wide the car is for the gap. That is absolutely critical, because people don't just wave you by. Rupert Svensson Cook leads. Daisuke Nakajima second, and Adriano Bezide in car number 1 trying to make a move on Carlos Huertas for third and get away from Jean-Éric Vergne. Jafar there ahead of Dan McKenzie and Oliver Webb, and at the back of this queue, James Collado, 12th place from 20th on the grid, so good start for him after disappointing race 1. Carrying the Racing Steps Foundation colours that Oliver Turvey raced under in British Formula 3 in 2008. Turvey went on to be the championship runner-up, but won one of the opening races here at Oulton Park. So lots for James Collado to live up to. He's just behind, well, Alex Brundle there in 10th place. That's the white number 7 car. Here is our leader then. Great start to the season for Rupert Svensson Cook. Out front, and he is easing away from Daisuke Nakajima. Carlos Huertas is successfully holding up the rest of them, or in his case, holding off the rest of them, he'd call it. He's on 3rd position at the moment, on the podium. So Nakajima and Huertas, 2nd and 3rd for Double R. Meanwhile, pressure being applied to Adriano Bezide, one of last year's race winners in the T-Sport team. Now he is a Carlin driver, as is the man behind him. Different colours, though, for Jean-Éric Vergne. Last year in the Formula Renault Euro Cup, 2-litre cars, less power, much less grip, much less sophisticated one-make series. Of course, with everybody predominantly using Dallara chassis in the British Formula 3 International Series, you could sort of argue the same, but here the teams make a big difference, and so do the different engines. Volkswagen and Mercedes, the 2 principal power units. Honda, the Mugen engine, no longer present in the international class. So there's an awful lot, and a lot of the drivers really find that this is where, oh, that's James Cole. Now, he was 2nd in the national class in race 1 and was 2nd here as well, and unfortunately he has just gone off. Rupert Svensson Cook leads then from Daisuke Nakajima. They're not pulling away anymore from Carlos Huertas, but neither is the Colombian catching them. Looks like he's not getting out of there. I think he's damaged the rear wing as well. Looks like that end plate in the wrong place. Got it wrong on the way down through Island Bend, and there's not much forgiveness in the wet runoff area there. Welcome back to the British Formula 3 International season opening weekend at Oulton Park. Nice battle shaping up for 5th position as our race 1 winner from France, Jean-Éric Vergne, comes under pressure. There is James Cole, was 2nd in the national class, but he is out. There is Vergne with the yellow nose, Jaswan Jafar of Malaysia, and Daniel Mackenzie of Great Britain, last year's national class champion in a dominant season, now at the international class stage and looking to try and move himself up into the top half dozen. Points for the top 10 in this second race, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 and so on. So not as many as the 20-point spread in race 1 and race 3. Gabriel Diaz, our pole sitter here in the reverse grid, had a clash with Daisuke Nakajima at the beginning of the race, early laps, and he is now in the pit lane. This is from Svensson Cook's viewpoint. The Brazilian on the outside, Japanese on the inside, and really 50-50 here. Gets very wet under Nakajima. The car drifts out, but I'm certain he made no attempt there to take Diaz off. That was just a wet track clash. Diaz at the tail of the field, though, nonetheless. However, we'll start race 3 from 6th position, so another chance to pick up some more points. And Dan Mackenzie there in car number 5, national class champion last year, looking the man perhaps most comfortable with these conditions at the moment, as he homes in on Jafar in the turquoise and white number 22 machine. Malaysian driver, a Formula 3 rookie. Meanwhile, Diana is in the pit lane. She's caught up with Gabriel Diaz.
Gabriel, that's a disappointing end to the race. You were battling up the front. What happened?
The start was a bit messy because my handbrake broke, so I couldn't really preload the car. So we lost the first position, but we were 2nd, making pressure on Nakajima. We were much quicker, I think. And I tried to overtake him in the end of the first corner, in the end of the straight, in the first corner, in the outside, in the dry line. But I don't know if he did it on purpose, I hope not. But he just pushed me off. Probably he just lost control. And then when he pushed me off, I went to the grass and the race was over. We were still really quick. We did fastest lap after that, but we decided to stop, save tires. We're starting P6 next race, so we go forward.
Well, it looks like he saw it the same way that it looked from the outside. He was on the dry, Nakajima on the wet, and just could not hold the car in tight. And the logic there is that Nakajima doesn't want to risk tangling wheels early in the race when he's in the lead either. So I don't think that was deliberate. Meanwhile, Rupert Svensson Cook not able really to stretch away from the Japanese driver, but our race leader is just about far enough away as he sweeps down through cascades to be safe from immediate attack. And that allows him to focus on the road ahead, and that's where the speed comes. A little glance in the mirror as he whistles up towards Island Bend. Just a tight little dab perhaps, or a small lift. Oh, and there's Hal Lloyd, the Welsh driver, in the pit lane. Looks like he's got a problem with that left rear. Well, the last thing you want at Oulton Park with minimal runoff areas is a problem with the brakes, but that looks like what it is. Manor Motorsport helping him with the car, and of course they are the team, John Boo's team, behind that Virgin Formula 1 team. So plenty of experience in F3 and now in F1. Rupert Svensson Cook still with Nakajima shadowing him, and as conditions continue to dry, the Japanese looking more and more confident. A couple of good battles behind. You can see Will Buller, Alex Brundle and James Collado trying to find his way by them in the number 2 car. Howell Lloyd was just in front of him, and Lloyd goes back out. He may be looking for the 2 points for the extra fastest lap in this race. 1 point in race 1 and 3 for fastest lap. Trying to give a little bit of something to play for. Jaswan Jafar in 6th, holding off car number 5. That's Danny Mackenzie and Oliver Webb. Good squabble there as well. And suddenly the leader's on his own. Daisuke Nakajima's made a big mistake. Looks like he must have had a big tank slapper going through D-Elite there, because he's dropped way off the leader. And Carlos Huertas is right with him. And you can see he's rattled the Japanese driver, running his tyres through the wet down the hill. That is not what he should be doing. He certainly doesn't need to cool them down. That just reduces a bit of temperature, leaves him with a bit less grip in the front right, and that's the very last thing you need. It is dry on the racing line, but if you stray off it, then you're in all sorts of trouble. Carlos Huertas with Adriano Petide shadowing him, but looks as though Daisuke Nakajima has just got himself sorted now, got his head back around it and starting to pull away a little from the Colombian driver. Well, that's a huge relief for Rupert Svensson-Cook. Leaves these three to battle it out behind. Jean-Éric Vergne not quite with front-running pace on his own in that yellow and blue machine. And then Jafar. Well, Jafar was pressuring Vergne earlier, but now he's got his mirrors full of two red and white cars. Really can't manage to do that. 2008 national class champion Jay Bridger started 18th in the light speed. He'll be in the top 5 though on the grid for race 3. Our race leader is pulling away still. Nakajima has settled down ahead of Huertas, and in fact the big battle at the moment seems to be this one. Will Buller, number 7 Alex Brundle, and James Collado behind him. That's 9th, 10th and 11th positions. And at the moment Jafar there in 6th position, looking relatively happy ahead of Mackenzie and Webb. And if anything, they may be dropping back a little into the clutches of this battle. Will Buller starting to ease his way down the hill as in the white car. Alex Brundle comes under increasing pressure from James Collado. Collado looking to make a move here, shaping up. Well, around the inside at Island Bend, you'd have to be pretty brave in these conditions to go with that. Might be trying to shoot up the inside into the Shell Oil's hairpin, but doesn't manage to make it. Around the banked corner they come. Loads of grip there when you dig in deep right down by that bottom curve. Slingshot out up to the first of the 2 chicanes. This is Britain's climbing Clay Hill over the top and rushing down, hard braking into Knickerbrook. And Collado at the back of this little train is very well placed. Alex Brundle undoubtedly feeling the pressure here. Of course, Father Martin Brundle, famous British Formula 3 campaign against Ayrton Senna, looked for most of the season as if either could have won it. In the end, the Brazilian came out on top, but not without some titanic squabbles. One of the all-time classic British F3 campaigns, no question about it. And if Alex can get anywhere near that level of excitement in his British Formula 3 career, he will be remembered for many years to come. Collado, well, again, Oliver Turvey in that Racing Steps livery, so nearly won the campaign 2 years ago against Jaime Alguersuari. Alguersuari, of course, now full-time member of the Formula 1 grid. Rupert Svensson-Cook slowly being caught by Daisuke Nakajima, it would seem. Well past the 2/3 distance mark. And Brundle keeping things neat and tidy. Raced all across Europe in the International Formula 2 Championship last year. One make series run by Dr. Jonathan Palmer. Brundle certainly learning an awful lot there, but being deeply embedded with the team and the engineers permanently in British F3 will really be like going to University of Motorsport. Hops the curbs. Collado right behind him, pushing, pushing, pushing. Collado certainly made progress early on in the race, but it's harder to come by when you get to the sharp end. He's finding that Brundle has got all the bases covered here. And this is now where the racing driver's instincts come in, either to know how much harder to push without risking your own car and trying to force a mistake from the man in the front, or where to suddenly produce a move that nobody is expecting. And that's what really marks drivers out as exceptional talents. And certainly Lewis Hamilton has been famous for that over the years. Again, Brundle covers the run up to Old Hall with Rupert Svensson-Cook. One of the great things about Oulton Park for a driver is that about half the corners are completely blind. Loads of crests, loads of brows. You never really entirely know what's around the corner. Usually nothing. You do rely on the marshals 100% to tell you, for instance, as you come round Ireland at over 140 miles an hour, that there's nobody stationary in the middle of the track where you can't avoid them. And that's why marshals' flags are so critical. Every time you see an onboard here and you see how limited the vision is, and you know why the marshals are taken so seriously. Daisuke Nakajima now really with the bit between his teeth. Maybe Svensson-Cook has not quite got the speed that the Japanese has as the car lightens. That's something they'll learn about as well, not just how to drive the car as the fuel load burns off, but also how to set the car up to be quick at the end as much as at the beginning. You can make up a lot of ground at the start, but if somebody's reeling you in hand over fist for the last 10 laps, it's going to be an uncomfortable time in the British Formula 3 International Series. And Svensson Cook now is going to have to fight hard for this win. This is going to be a really big test of his mettle as well. Pulled off a great aggressive move on Nakajima to take the lead, and now he's got to defend hard to hang on to it. Nakajima is not to be taken lightly. And he's got to be regarded as one of this year's championship contenders. So, last time around, there's Oulton Park International Circuit map on the steering wheel, not to remind the driver where to go, but just so when he's on the radio he can tell them what marshal's post he's at if the car happens to stop. Should be no such dramas for him though. In with Carlin Motorsport, the benchmark in the British Formula 3 International Series. And he is doing a really strong job. For a driver that most of the fans won't have heard of, he's going to come away, it would seem now almost certain, with victory in race 2 on this opening race weekend. 5th in race 1. Was a good indication of his pace. Now he's made a really smart move on Nakajima, took advantage of the Japanese, forced the error as he comes through Knickerbrook, feeding in the power nice and smoothly, snatching that gear change midway through the 2 apexes, climbing the hill, just keeping it out wide and then sweeping into this left, at least the fast double right-hander at Druid. Still really treacherous under the trees on this section of the track. Never really gets dry on a day like today. See, there is a dry line, but barely. Up to the final couple of corners, through Lodge, down through Dealey. Checkered flag is waiting for him, and this is a momentous occasion for Rupert Svensson Cook. The Carlin boys celebrate with him his first ever British Formula 3 win. And he took the lead with aplomb and held it with grit. Our national class winner, Manisha Idafar from Bahrain. So 2 wins out of 2 in the national class for Idafar. On the podium, Carlos Huertas 3rd, Daisuke Nakajima in 2nd. But on the top step for the first time, Rupert Svensson Cook.
But many congratulations, a great race.
Yeah, it's incredible. My first weekend in British F3 and a win. Didn't expect this, really didn't. And I got a good start, clean off the line. And I knew that if I just kept my nose clean, the pace I had in the first few laps, I knew I could just wait for the moment, the opportunity, and pressure Daisuke into mistake and in the lead, and that was it.
So enjoyable?
Yeah, best race of my life.
I really wanted to win, and the second is not the result what I wanted, so I'm really disappointed. I was a bit slow coming out of the final corner, so I had to defend Rupert into turn 1, and then I was a bit slow coming out of turn 1, which made Rupert overtook me, and so yeah, I was a bit disappointed. Yeah.
I think 3rd is good for this race. The aim was the podium. I got it, and the main objective for today is the 2nd race, which I start 2nd, and it's the main race, full points, so I think I have a good chance.
Many congratulations. How was it in the mid-pack?
Yeah, thanks. It was a tough race at the start. I was a bit cautious, but the team gave me a good car, and so it was a good race, I guess. Yeah.
Once again for Rupert Svensson Cook.
So congratulations to Rupert Svensson Cook winning the sprint race, but we've got an even longer race for you after the break, so join us for that.
Welcome back to the British Formula 3 International Series at Oulton Park. Now, among the nervous racing dads in the paddock is one who knows more than most about what it takes to win here, Martin Brundle.
Martin, good to see you here. Clearly you've hot-footed it over from Malaysia to catch up with Alex.
Yeah, I wanted to see his 2nd and 3rd races here. I missed the first one, obviously, on Saturday. I was over at the Grand Prix, so jumped on a plane, then a helicopter, and here I am in sunny Oulton Park.
Is it important to come along and give him a bit of support?
Yeah, there's only 10 rounds this year, and I'm going to miss, I think, another 4 of them when I'm at Grand Prix, so I want to see him in action. There's a good thing about British F3, 3 races in a weekend, but that means I'm going to still miss 12 or 15 of them. But see how he's doing. He's learning fast and doing well, so pleased to come along and support him.
How important is F3 still to a driver's career?
Very important, I think, and this is the first time Alex will be working with 2 full-time mechanics and an engineer, so he can work, between races. He's doing a degree at university as well, which is quite tough for him, so it's good for him to be able to just constantly share data, go to the factory, talk to the boys, and just generally, work through. And he's learning a huge amount. I think he's learned more in the 7 or 8 days he's been in this car than the rest of his career put together, if I'm honest.
Now, looking back at your career in Formula 3, obviously you had quite a few battles, and namely here at Oulton Park.
Yeah, I had some wonderful races here at Oulton, and I think I won my first Formula 3 race here, actually, from pole back in '82, and then Ayrton Senna and I had some epics here, including once when they had to lift his car off the top of me so I could get out of mine. We had a big shunt down at Foster's. No, I had a lot of fun here, and it's a tremendous place. I mean, you don't have any small accidents here; they're all big ones because it's quite close to the side of the track, the barriers. But it's it's a really good track, really exciting to drive.
So Jean-Éric Vergne takes the second pole position of the weekend. So let's see how they all fare around this new featured 40-minute race around this spectacular track. We'll get to the action with your commentator, Martin Haven.
Here's how they line up then for race 3 of the Cooper Tyres British Formula 3 International Series. Fastest lap in qualifying sets this grid, and that was Jean-Éric Vergne taking pole position with Carlos Huertas starting alongside him. Second fastest lap in qualifying, incidentally, sets the grid for race 1. Ollie Webb lines up on an all-British second row ahead of Rupert Svensson-Cook. Jay Bridger, the 08 national class champion, is 5th ahead of Gabriel Diaz. Adriano Bizide, one of the oldest men in the field at 21, starts in 7th ahead of Howell Lloyd. And our national class pole sitter for the 3rd time, Manisha Idafar. So here we go, much drier conditions for the final race of the weekend. Jean-Éric Vergne on pole position, 1 race win already under his belt, and Carlos Huertas stalls on the outside of the front row, and that could potentially be a real nightmare. Luckily, that's about the widest part of the Oulton Park track, and they all go around him, but that will certainly have jumbled up the order on board with Alex Brundle, qualified in 10th place. Sweeping down the hill, Jean-Éric Vergne and Oliver Webb are gone. And Rupert Svensson-Cook, who had to dodge around Carlos Huertas in front of him on the grid, he's in 3rd place, everyone else in 4th at the moment. Lots of jockeying for position. Diaz in 4th. Nakajima looking inside Bizide for 5th, but doesn't get anywhere there. Lock up from Alex Brundle. Jafar spins. Oh, and there's danger there as well. Oh, and very unfortunate. Both our national class drivers tangled up, and it was Manisha Idafar who hit a slowing James Cole. So Cole had got ahead of him. Looking back from our race leader then, he heads down to Knickerbrook. He's only got Oliver Webb, who is right behind him on the grid, and the rest are battling amongst themselves. Svensson-Cook in 3rd, ahead of Diaz, and there, in a very multicoloured car, is Adriano Bizide. Now, he made a good start, and Jay Bridger did not. He's gone backwards. On board again with Alex Brundle, gone from 10th to about 7th position. Checks his mirrors. He's got James Collado behind him in the Racing Steps Foundation car. Through Druids, carrying the speed, and as his dad Martin Brundle said, has learned more in about 8 days of testing than in 3 years of racing so far. And wow, Collado straight up the inside at Lodge Corner. No question he was making that move. Brundle, I'm not sure, was aware that that was coming. Svensson-Cook starting to pull away in 3rd place from car number 4, Diaz in 4th. Adriano Bizide and Daisuke Nakajima just there. Jay Bridger behind Nakajima. Collado catching him. Brundle, big twitch there. And he's under pressure as well. William Buller, who didn't make the greatest start, is now looking for a way by Alex Brundle. Alex defends on the inside. Knows these British tracks from his time in Formula Palmer Audi a couple of seasons ago. But the car, very different kettle of fish, particularly on colder tyres as well. And as the teams always say at the beginning of the season, no matter how much testing you get, racing very different indeed. Let's take a look here at this dramatic spin. Jafar just hooks a wheel on the dirt on the inside. He's trying to turn too tight. Webb gets checked up around him, and off goes Manisha Idafar. So he won't make it 3 wins from 3 in the national class here. James Collado started on the back of the race 2 grid after retiring from race 1. Well, Idafar is out, Cole being checked over in the pits, but it's vital he gets back out with the points leader gone. He's got to score something here if he can, even if the steering wheel is askew, nurse it round. No such problems for Jean-Éric Vergne in the lead, but the battles will continue further back. William Buller there, car number 3, right in the middle of the pack. And now this is really where the driver's mettle starts to get tested. This is a long race, 40 minutes. Now physically, these cars probably more demanding than any of these guys have driven recently. Vergne coming from 2-litre Formula Renault, guys like Jafar coming out of Formula BMW, much less grip, much shorter races, half the length really. So it's about concentration, it's how well you've trained over the winter. Of course, when you're getting up and it's cold, wet and miserable in the UK particularly, you need to go running, go to the gym. It's really hard to motivate yourself, but this is where it pays off. Now, out goes James Cole, and that really could be very important for him. T-Sport team sending him back out. And under pressure is Collado from Jay Bridger. This is Brundle following them now. Jay Bridger will be very frustrated. Qualified 5th. Collado was 14th on the grid and on the side of the track that had the staller. But Collado must have coated the car in butter at the start because he managed to squeeze through every gap that opened up in front of him. Conversely, Jay Bridger ended up going backwards. Here's our race leader then, Jean-Éric Vergne, with Oliver Webb right behind him, the only man who managed to make as good a fist to the start as the leader. And there, Carlos Huertas, after that stall, he'll be fuming as well. Vergne is really piling on the speed. Don't forget, for him, not only points for race, but also potentially for the fastest lap as well, to add to his tally. And Vergne is going to come away from Oulton Park, no matter what else happens, with a good feel for the field, and they will all know that he's going to be a very tough man to beat. Well, Carlos Huertas did get the car away from the grid. As you can see, he's catching some of our tail enders. Felipe Nasr of Brazil in front of him. He's challenging Max Snegerev. Nasr, the reigning Formula BMW Europe champion. Meanwhile, Alex Brundle finding the pressure still intense from behind. Number 3 car of William Buller coming up strong. Jean-Éric Vergne goes with Oliver Webb right behind him. There are top 2. Rupert Svensson-Cook hanging on in 3rd place, leading the battle for the final podium spot. Welcome back to Oulton Park to the feature race, race 3 of the British Formula 3 International Series. Jean-Éric Vergne starting to ease away now from Oliver Webb in 2nd place. Those two getting clear of the rest of the field when Carlos Huertas stalled on the grid, and here is the Colombian driver. He's closing in on Russia's Max Snegerev. And the black car, Felipe Nasr, has gone by him. Nasr, the former BMW champion in Europe last year. Young Brazilian. The average age of this field must be under 20 by now. So many 17 and 19-year-olds that the odd 21 and 22-year-old very much outnumbered. And this is all a product, of course, of karting starting so young now. National karting certainly starting at 8 years of age. You're now getting Grand Prix drivers in their very early 20s. Not something that would have happened in the days of Martin Brundle and Ayrton Senna. They were judged as impecunious youths in their mid-20s. And of course, youngest ever Grand Prix driver, just 8 months after sealing the British title, Jaime Alguersuari making his debut for Toro Rosso and looking ever impressive this season. Now, here's Rupert Svensson-Cook, a race 2 win for him, made a really good use of his grid position, attacked Daisuke Nakajima, took the lead away, held it on to the checkered flag. Great weekend start for him, no matter what else happens, he's got the win. James Collado, similar move to the one he pulled on Alex Brundle in the inside at Lodge Corner. And Daisuke Nakajima had no answer to that move either. Once you're alongside into Lodge, it's done and dusted. If the driver in front turns in, he does risk a big accident. As Martin Brundle said, there are no small accidents here at Oulton Park. Weren't in his day, aren't yet. So Jean-Éric Vergne and Webb leading, Svensson-Cook pulling away, and Carlos Huertas still trying to struggle by Max Snegerev. There's Adriano Bazai, James Collado now up to 6th position, so Collado making very good progress again. Started on the back of the race 2 grid, drove right up in firmly into the points. And as the leaders sweep away around the island hairpin, you can see the battle for third and fourth coming in. That's how far they are ahead. Huertas alongside Snegerev. The Russian perhaps defending that a little too robustly or a little too long. And there is Svensson Cook, half Norwegian, half British driver. Norwegian mother, British father. He's been racing in Europe for the last couple of seasons. Third place at the moment, easing away or trying to ease away from Gabriel Diaz and Adriano Buzaid. And here is our national class runner James Cole, who was tangled up in that spin of Jafar on the first lap. Jay Bridger now all over the back of Alex Brundle, riding with Brundle, checks the mirror as they come up towards the island bend. See how the driver's crushed down by the G-forces into the cockpit. It's not just lateral, really squeezes the air out of you as well. Ooh, Buzaid jumps the curbs, and there's a chance for Collado. Buzaid's got no drive as they come up Clay Hill. Collado's got to make a move here. You have to take every half opportunity. Buzaid somehow just managed to recover his composure. And his father, Alvaro Buzaid, a former British single-seater star as well. Brazilian, a second-generation Brazilian over here. We've had that before with Christian Fittipaldi, following in the footsteps of Uncle Emerson. Not sure if Wilson ever raced British Formula 3, Christian's dad, but Christian did. Of course, as the years go on, more and more likely to see second and, who knows, well, we've got Brundle, of course, Alex Brundle, a second-generation British F3 driver. Daisuke Nakajima, a second-generation driver, although Satoru, when he came to UK for the first time, was a Lotus driver. And Brundle under pressure from Daniel Mackenzie. Now, Mackenzie, the national class champion last year, so the car's subtly different, but certainly not half as different as a Formula 2 car was to the Formula 3 car that Alex Brundle is currently in. So for Alex, really is a steep learning curve. He held on nicely at Old Hall, gets the line right down through Island Bend and into the Shell Oils hairpin. And then down into the braking area at the chicane. Got to hang on at Britain's, jumps the curbs nicely. Important to get the speed on the way out. You can shut the door on the way in, block the driver behind you, but if you're slow on the way out up Clay Hill, then you're going to be dead in the water for Knickerbrook. Just behind them, Felipe Nasser. Nasser, one of a slew of Brazilians in the British Formula 3 Championship, as so often has been the case. And of course, behind him is the man who started on the outside, the front row of the grid, Carlos Huertas. Oliver Webb pushing hard, but Jean-Éric Vergne is gradually easing away from him. Brundle still under pressure. Well, 10th place is where the points end, and this is 9th and 10th position, so vital that they don't tangle. They are both in points-paying positions, and who knows what that might mean at the end of the season. And again, Danny Mackenzie with a really good run from Lodge all the way through Deer Leap and down the straight. And James Collado having a good lunge around the outside. Great move on Adriano Buzaid. The Brazilian's got the drive on the exit, though. Collado couldn't quite make it, but that's what we were talking about in race 2. Inventive overtaking opportunities being created. Nobody goes around the outside of the Shell Oils hairpin unless they're lapping somebody. Perfect stuff. Well, perfect stuff too from Jean-Éric Vergne. Last lap for the Frenchman, final couple of corners. Ollie Webb just not able to get close to him. And the young Frenchman really stamping his authority on this championship from the start. Exactly what his mentors and the team had hoped, exactly what testing suggested might happen. Better be careful when you're doing stoppies. Victory nonetheless for Jean-Éric Vergne from Oliver Webb. And at the other end of the points-paying positions, Alex Brundle still in 9th in the T-Sport car. Danny Mackenzie for Fortec right behind him. And that's how they stay at the line. Our national class winner is James Cole. Rupert Svensson Cook on the podium again. Oliver Webb in second. But it's win number 2 for our French star, Jean-Éric Vergne.
Jean-Éric, many congratulations. 2 results here this weekend. A great start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just perfect to begin a season like this. Then for sure it was, quite an easy weekend for us. and with a good result for the end. And now it's going to be harder because those will get, I think, more hungry. So we just have to work even harder for the next races and just keep on this way, and it should be really good, I think.
It means a lot. 2 second places is very good for our championship battle. I think second in the championship's not bad for our first round. Top rookie. Considering this is the worst track out of all the tests we did, I think if we can be P1 at Silverstone like we were the other week, then it'll be a good championship.
Now, how was the start?
We got a good start. I think we had the best start on the grid. I overtook Carlos. I think he had a bad start or stalled, and I was definitely catching up to Vergne. And first lap, he's always really quick, and we made sure that we kept with him. And unfortunately, on lap 3, we had a bit of a moment, and that created a big gap. But from then on, we just caught. And it's a shame there wasn't a few more laps at the end.
It's a dream come true. 2 podiums in my first weekend of British F3. It's fantastic. Thank you.
How much had conditions changed on the circuit for that race?
It was just much like the first race yesterday, completely dry. But it was the first time longest race I've ever done in my life. So it took quite a long while to sort of realise, it sunk in a few laps in that, okay, you've still got another 20 laps to go. But it was fantastic. I managed consistent lap times, kept a good gap, and got another podium.
So hard work for all concerned despite the cold weather. Jean-Éric Vergne with the series lead from Ollie Webb and Rupert Svensson. Cook preside and Nakajima giving chase. And James Cole leads the national class.
Well, it's the end of the day here at Oulton Park, but it seems like a few people haven't finished their day. Trevor, obviously everyone's getting ready to do, looks like a run round the circuit here. Tell us what's going on.
We're doing a little charity run in aid of a Headway charity, which John Surtees is supporting via Henry. He was a great friend of ours who was tragically lost last year. And we all miss him a lot. This is our way of, giving something back to his charity and having a bit of fun as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here turned up to support it, so you must be pleased.
Well, chuffed to bits, and it was Dan, that tall guy there, that tall one, come around, look, there, in there, that's it, the one smiling. It's his idea to get this going, and he's organised the whole thing, so, it's thanks to him, it's a great idea, and we'll make a few quid for charity, so perfect.
Absolutely. Now, how much training have you done?
Absolutely none.
Excellent. All right, well, you have a good one.
Okay, thanks very much.
So congratulations to the Carlin team. They dominated here at Oulton Park, and now the championship rolls on to Silverstone and Northamptonshire next time out, so join us for that. So see you there. Bye-bye.